2 minutes ago, everything changed. After weeks of mystery, misleading headlines, and cautious optimism, Caitlin Clark's doctor has dropped the truth bomb fans were dreading. She's not coming back. Not this week. Not for playoffs. Not this season. Let that sink in. The most watched, talked about, and marketable player in the WNBA has officially been sidelined permanently. And the way we got here is messier than anyone wants to admit. It started innocently enough, a minor groin strain, they said. Day to day, they said. She'll be back soon, they said. And then, the updates got quiet. Then weird. Then completely contradictory.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
1 minute, she's doing full court sprints. The next, she hasn't even returned to full practice. Coaches saying one thing, league insiders saying another. ESPN reports a potential return next week, then quietly edits the article to say maybe 2 more weeks. And all this time, the Fever, posting generic photos of her on the bench with vague captions like still working. Working on what, though? A comeback? Or a cover-up? Because at this point, the fans aren't just confused. They're feeling played. How do you go from day to day to out for the season without even blinking? How does a groin strain, which usually clears up in 2 to 3 weeks, suddenly become a season-ending injury for a 22-year-old in peak condition? And more importantly, why has no one been honest from the beginning? Because here's what the fans are saying, and they're not wrong. They think the Fever knew all along. They think Caitlin was never actually close to returning. That all those whispered return dates, all those courtside appearances, all those hints were about one thing, keeping the ticket sales flowing. Because let's be real, when Caitlin Clark is playing, the Fever are a sold-out show. When she's not playing but might return, people still buy in, just in case. But now that she's out, indefinitely, suddenly those resale values plummet. And here's the darkest theory floating around. The team milked her presence without her performance. Used her name, used her image, used her body, frankly, as a tool for marketing, even while it was literally breaking down. That's not just shady. It's negligent. And now that her doctor has finally confirmed what the team wouldn't say, that this minor injury is actually serious enough to shut her down for the entire season, it confirms what fans were screaming from the bleachers. Something's not right here. The way this injury was handled, misreported, underplayed, and spun, raises every red flag imaginable. And the worst part? It didn't have to be this way. Caitlin could have been given real time to rest. She could have been put on a clear injury protocol. She could have been protected from the pressure of rushing back. Instead, she was expected to keep the machine running, even when she couldn't stand without pain. They tried to sell toughness, but what they really sold was disrespect. Because here's the thing, Caitlin Clark isn't just an athlete. She's a franchise shifter, a one-in-a-generation talent, a rookie who turned the Indiana Fever from an afterthought into the team to watch. She brought in new fans. She got people watching women's basketball who had never once tuned into a WNBA game before. She revived entire markets, and the way they repaid her? By downplaying her injury, by gaslighting the fan base, by using hope as a distraction tactic. It's ugly, it's reckless, and it's possibly career-altering. Because, let's be clear, a groin injury doesn't just disappear. This isn't a twisted ankle. This is a foundational muscle group. One wrong move, and you're looking at recurring damage, chronic pain, a shortened career. And Caitlin knew that. She said from the beginning that she wouldn't rush back, that she had to trust her body, that she was thinking about longevity. But did the team? Did the league? Did the media? No. They dangled comeback dates like candy. Teased, maybe this week, every week. And now, we're here, out for the season, with zero closure. No press conference, no apology, no accountability. Just a quiet update from her doctor, dropped like a brick into the news cycle. And if fans are furious? Good. They should be. Because Caitlin Clark deserves better. She gave this league everything. She played through bruises and criticism and chaos. She showed up to every game, even when she wasn't clear to play, because she knew what her presence meant. And the league? It gave her mixed signals and missing protocols. The same league that marketed her face on billboards, that promoted her as the future of women's basketball, somehow didn't have the basic infrastructure to keep her healthy, safe, and respected. And now, that future is on ice. No playoffs, no redemption arc, no rookie finish line. Just an exhausted, possibly re-injured 22-year-old sitting courtside in a hoodie, still smiling for the cameras, even as her season silently slips away. So what does that leave us? It leaves the Fever scrambling. It leaves the WNBA exposed. And it leaves fans asking the hard question. Did we just witness the mishandling of a generational career before it even started? Because this isn't just about one injury. It's about the entire system that allowed it to fester. And if Caitlin Clark doesn't come back next season at 100%, if this becomes a recurring injury, if the league loses its biggest star due to a preventable spiral of confusion and mismanagement, then this moment will go down as the biggest failure in WNBA history. And right now, it already feels like that future is knocking. And here's what makes it even worse. This didn't need to be a crisis. Groin injuries are common in professional sports. Players pull muscles, strain tendons, miss a few games. It happens. It's part of the grind. But how it's handled, that's what separates good organizations from disasters in the making. And unfortunately, the Fever have turned Caitlin Clark's injury into a full-blown PR implosion and possibly a trust fracture that could last her entire career. Let's be real. From the jump, everything about this injury screamed cover-up. Remember when the team said she was day-to-day? That was a month ago. You know what day-to-day usually means? A twisted ankle, a jammed finger, a sore back that needs a night off. It doesn't mean out for the season. It definitely doesn't mean we go weeks without real updates while the player sits quietly courtside looking like she's being held hostage by her own PR team. And let's talk about that. Where was Caitlin's voice in all this? She's not someone who shies away from the mic. She's given thoughtful, candid interviews since her Iowa days. But through all of this, the injury, the delays, the confusion, radio silence. We've heard more from team spokespeople and league sources than from the player herself. That silence? It's not just weird, it's suspicious. It raises questions like, is she being told not to speak? Is the team downplaying the injury to avoid public backlash? Is she frustrated with how this has been handled, but keeping quiet to avoid being labeled difficult? Because let's face it, that label is never too far away for a woman in sports. And here's another layer people are starting to talk about. The pressure she was under to carry this league. Caitlin Clark didn't walk into the WNBA as just another rookie. She walked in as the golden ticket, the savior, the ratings queen, the one who would bring in fans, sell out stadiums, and make the WNBA feel mainstream. And she did. She absolutely did. She shattered every expectation, broke records, brought in millions of new viewers, got her jersey flying off shelves like she was a Marvel superhero. The problem? The league never built a system around her success. They just let her carry the weight on a rookie's salary. No real protective infrastructure. No veteran mentorship program. No medical staff with a transparent plan. Just, Caitlin will figure it out. And now, her body is given out before her rookie year even finished. And yet, people are still asking, well, when is she coming back? Like she owes anyone a miracle. Let's also not ignore the emotional toll here. Can you imagine being 22 years old, the most hyped player in the country, expected to be the future of an entire league, and then getting benched with no clear timeline and no real answers? Sitting there game after game, watching your teammates struggle without you, watching your name still sell out arenas while your body literally won't cooperate. Watching the headlines spiral from admiration to suspicion, like you're doing something wrong by being injured. That pressure? It's crushing. And Caitlin Clark has been carrying it alone. There's no sign the league stepped in to give her support. No mental health check-ins that we know of. No public defense of her decision to sit. Just a vague hope that she'd return soon. And now that she's officially done for the season, crickets. Where's the commissioner? Where's the league-wide statement acknowledging what this moment means? Where's the transparency? Because if the WNBA can issue a full-blown celebration every time ticket sales spike in Vegas, they can sure as hell release a thoughtful, honest statement about losing the player who built that momentum in the first place. But they won't, because admitting this was a failure would mean admitting that they weren't ready for her. And now the long-term consequences are starting to show. Other players are watching this unfold and taking notes. Young stars coming out of college are seeing how quickly the narrative around Caitlin flipped. 1 minute, she's the chosen one. The next, she's overhyped, too soft, not built for this. They see how she was criticized for needing recovery time. How fans turned on her because she didn't bounce back fast enough. How media outlets started speculating whether she was milking the injury. This is the exact environment that drives talent away. You don't build a league by burning out your biggest stars and then questioning why they stepped back. You build it by giving them space to breathe, to heal, to thrive long-term. And if Caitlin Clark's first WNBA season ends with a murky, mismanaged groin injury and a vague note from her doctor saying she won't return, that's not just a disappointment. It's a warning sign, a red flare in the sky saying, fix this now, because if they don't, the league risks becoming a place where greatness goes to fade out, not shine. Caitlin Clark gave the W everything. And when she needed the W to step up for her, it gave her silence. It gave her confusion. And now, it's given her an early exit. And we're not even talking about what this does to her brand. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, they all bet on her. And rightly so. She's magnetic. But they didn't just bet on her name. They bet on her playing. On her continuing to dominate, continuing to grow. Now they're left scrambling. Campaigns paused. Ads shelved. Product launches delayed. Because Caitlin not being on the court is a marketing nightmare. And everyone knows it. And all of this because of a groin strain that should have been managed better from day one. It's the kind of mistake that haunts a franchise. And if you're the Indiana Fever, you're not just losing games now. You're losing trust. You're losing fans. You're losing the future you were supposed to be building around. And if you're the WNBA, you're losing your biggest asset before she ever even got a chance to finish her first act. And you better believe the fans won't forget. They won't forget the vague updates. They won't forget the conflicting timelines. They won't forget the silence when it mattered most. They won't forget that when Caitlin Clark needed a league to stand with her, it stood behind a wall of PR speak. So now, it's not just Caitlin Clark who's out. It's the illusion that the WNBA is ready to protect its stars. It's the trust that the league has its players' best interests at heart. It's the hope that this rookie year was the beginning of something legendary. Because unless something changes, and fast, this injury won't be the only thing that ends early. It'll be the W's biggest opportunity, gone, limping off the court with no clear return. You know what no one's talking about yet? The locker room dynamics. Because you better believe there's tension behind those supportive sound bites. Think about it. Caitlin Clark's injury didn't just sideline the league's biggest draw, it shifted the entire vibe of the Fever, and maybe even the WNBA as a whole. Before the injury, Clark was playing 30-plus minutes a night, absorbing contact like a crash dummy, dishing out assists, hitting logo threes, and drawing the media's full attention every single game. Her presence wasn't just electric, it was invasive. Reporters packed Fever practices. National cameras followed her every move. Teammates who'd once been the center of their own college programs were suddenly in the background of the Caitlin Clark show. Then she gets hurt. And what happens? The cameras are still there, but now they're filming a team without its star. A team under pressure to deliver. A team that, let's be honest, didn't ask for this level of attention, but now has to pretend it's business as usual. Spoiler alert, it's not. Players are frustrated. Some feel like their own injuries didn't get this kind of sympathy. Others are tired of being asked about her at every press conference. And still more are just trying to win games while dealing with a media circus that no longer makes sense without the headliner. Because the reality is, without Clark on the court, the spotlight starts to burn instead of shine. And that spotlight doesn't go away, it just turns inward. Now people are asking, why isn't the team performing? Why are the games flat? Where's the leadership? All fair questions. But here's the truth they're ignoring. Caitlin Clark was the structure. She wasn't just a guard. She was the foundation of the team's identity. offensively, emotionally, even financially. You rip that out suddenly with zero clarity on her return, and what do you expect the rest of the roster to do? They're not just filling in minutes. They're filling in a void the size of a WNBA rebrand. And that confusion, that pressure, it's bleeding across the league. Let's talk about ticket holders, season pass buyers, families who planned road trips around Clark's away games. Cities like Chicago, New York, Phoenix, entire markets that sold out games expecting her to show up. Suddenly, they're being told she might be out another week. Then we're being cautious. Now, she's out permanently. So let's be blunt. People feel scammed. It doesn't mean they're mad at Clark. Most aren't. They're mad at the lack of transparency. The feeling that this was all a bait and switch to keep fans invested while knowing full well she wouldn't be stepping on the court again this season. And the damage from that? It's financial, it's reputational, and it's emotional. Because Caitlin wasn't just a player. They trusted her. Trusted that if she wasn't okay, they'd be told the truth. Trusted that the league wouldn't run her into the ground or use her injury as a marketing mirage. But they were wrong. And now, that trust is cracked. Maybe broken. Worse still, her absence is exposing everything the WNBA still hasn't fixed. The outdated medical protocols, the lack of player protection, the brutal scheduling, the bare-bones support staff, the way teams run like they're still in the early 2000s despite having world-class athletes playing at breakneck speeds. And don't even get started on the broadcast treatment. One game without Caitlin, and suddenly it's back to grainy live streams and last-minute regional blackouts. Like the moment she disappears, the league forgets it was supposed to be in a growth era. That's the thing about moments. They vanish if you don't act fast enough. Caitlin was the moment. And instead of building around her, they just banked on her. Like she'd never get hurt, never burn out, never ask questions. But here's another part of this people haven't fully grasped yet. This injury might change how every future WNBA rookie approaches their debut season. Players coming out of college are watching this unfold like it's a live case study. They're seeing that no matter how dominant you are, no matter how much revenue you bring in, no matter how many headlines you grab, if you get hurt, you're suddenly just another question mark. Another when is she coming back? Another body to be speculated over instead of supported. So what's the play now? Future rookies will be more guarded. They'll negotiate harder. They'll limit their media access. They'll sit longer when they're hurt, because now they know what happens when they don't. And let's be honest, it's not just players watching. Agents are paying attention, too. You think they're not taking notes? You think they're not preparing contracts that build in escape routes, injury clauses, overseas exit plans? The Caitlin Clark situation is setting new precedent, and not the kind the league wanted. Because once it becomes common knowledge that your generational talent was mishandled in her very first season, you don't just risk bad PR. You risk losing the next Caitlin before she even signs the contract. And the fallout doesn't stop there. Let's talk about brand partners. The companies that bet big on Clark, Nike, Gatorade, Wilson, State Farm. They signed up for a front row seat to a superstar's meteoric rise. They didn't sign up for month-long confusion, murky injury updates, and unclear messaging. So what do they do now? They either pull back, go quiet, or worse, start backing other leagues with clear systems. Leagues like Athletes Unlimited, leagues overseas, leagues where players are protected and PR is controlled before it explodes. And all of this because one of the most basic duties, clear communication around an injury, was fumbled like it didn't matter. But it does matter. Caitlin Clark matters. Her health matters. Her image matters. Her career matters. She's the foundation of a new era. And instead of being treated like the future of the sport, she was reduced to a walking question mark. And now, fans are wondering, is she going to come back next year at all? Or is this going to turn into a sabbatical? A hiatus? A jump overseas? Because if the system failed her this badly, why would she trust it again? That's the fear no one wants to say out loud. But it's there. The idea that Caitlin Clark might look at all this chaos, all this mismanagement, and say, you know what? Maybe I was never meant to stay here. And if that happens, if she takes her talents to Spain, or Turkey, or Australia, If she becomes the latest in a long line of elite American players who find more money and support outside the W, then this won't just be an injury story. It'll be the moment the WNBA officially lost control of its own future. And that's not on Caitlin. That's on everyone who failed to protect her when they had the chance. So if the league doesn't come out swinging soon, with clarity, transparency, real accountability, then Caitlin Clark's injury won't just be the end of her rookie season. It'll be the start of something much bigger. A reckoning, a reality check, and possibly a reset. The clock is ticking. The fans are watching. And Caitlin? Well, she might just be planning her next move. Far away from the league that was never ready to carry her.